right, today we're going to be going over technical session number 9, I believe. And this is going to be talking about assisting clients using friendly communication. It's not just about being nice, it's about being able to work with them and be able to help them out with their problems. We're going to be talking about effective communication while we're going through stuff today, and we're going to see the differences between effective and ineffective communication throughout this particular process. Objectives we are trying to achieve at this particular technical session is to demonstrate active listening by nodding, making eye contact, and paraphrasing what the client has said to ensure that you properly understood what they were communicating to you. Asking open-ended probing questions to gather additional information based on the issues you are seeing, and explain complex concepts in clear, concise, client-friendly language. Lastly, we want to list and demonstrate the 9 steps involved in assisting the clients or assisting an upset client. So yes, another list we have to remember. All right. 3 main principles we want to adhere to or try to demonstrate when doing communicating with client in a client-friendly manner is active listening, asking questions, and explaining concepts in friendly language. When you're using client-friendly language, it will help ensure that the client is satisfied with the interaction and will lead to future success if they want to or if they need help again in the future. And it will also help improve efficiency for the company, because if somebody has a really bad experience with IT, they're going to be reluctant to call IT in the future. They're going to try to solve that problem any way they can rather than coming to you, which could cause extended time for systems being down. And also, it doesn't look good on you or your team if the company itself does not want to communicate with you at all. You're the solution of last resort, essentially. So the 9 steps that we are going to go over with regards to communicating with clients. Number 1, remain calm, because there are going to be many instances in IT where the person who comes in, they're going to be having a really bad day. If they don't have access to what they need, they can't do their job, they have deadlines they have to meet, they're already under a lot of stress. You don't want to add to that by essentially raising your agitation level to meet theirs. So you need to try to remain calm. Now, there is some benefit to slightly elevating, like kind of matching their frustration, but not dialing it up to 100 where they're at, but maybe going up to about 10, like, oh man, that's crazy. I can't believe that's happening to you. Just it lets you show a little bit of empathy towards them. So you don't have to do the flat monotone, sound like, what was his name? Bill Stein, Bueller. You don't want to maintain that, because that can also be frustrating for people as they're trying to get you to empathize with, their current actions. Next, don't take it personally. That's a tough one, especially if they're, spouting off a lot of 4-letter words. They're attacking you because they believe you are standing in the way of them achieving their goals. So it can be very difficult to not take something personally. Anybody who spent any length of time in customer service may have experienced excessively irate customers like this, and being able to diffuse that situation can be the difference between an average customer service rep and an excellent customer service rep. So don't take it personally. Use your listening skills. Sometimes in these rants that are happening, there can be key nuggets of information that you can pick up on. So just blocking them out entirely may not necessarily work, because they may mention things in that process that may lead you to solutions before you even get to the questioning process. Now, show them that you heard what the client has said. I'm listening to you. I'm here to try to help you. I'm on your side trying to get this issue resolved. Express sympathy. Understand that, they are going through a rough time. So you do need to give them a little bit of latitude with regards to, how they're acting and stuff like that. Not excessively, but obviously to a minor degree. Now, apologize gracefully. I'm sorry you're experiencing this problem. You don't need to say like, well, I'm sorry I did this to you, because you're obviously not necessarily the cause of that problem, but, like, I'm sorry you're experiencing these problems. Let's see what we can do to try to remedy the situation. Next, you want to try to find a solution. Now, the solution may not always be optimally what the customer wants, but, you need to do everything you can to try to resolve the issue within reason. Next, you start moving that solution in motion. Let the customer know where you're at, where we're going, how, potentially, when's the next time you'll follow up. Don't say, I will have this solved by X time, because things can come up between now and then. So you need to be very careful with your language about that. Say like, look, I'm doing everything I can to fix this. This shouldn't take too terribly long, but I will follow up with you in X amount of time to tell you exactly where we are at. And that could be, I have solved your problem. It could also be, this is what we're experiencing. We're looking at this timeline. So giving hard, fast time frames as to when things will be completed sets yourself up for failure and your team. So communicate appreciation. Thank you for coming to us with this issue. We're going to do everything we can to help you. We appreciate your business. We appreciate you relying on us to continue to take care of your IT needs, things like that, so that they understand that even, at the end of all this, even though they may have come in, giving you both barrels as to what's been happening in their life, you're still grateful that they are a customer of yours and they brought this issue to you to resolve. Also lets them know the next time that they come in, if you're able to resolve that issue, they're probably not going to be as heated, because they will remember that you resolved this issue last time. You did a good job. So the next time they come, they're going to ratchet it down because they are familiar with you already. All right. So before, we've already learned how to address the client. What was that acronym we talked about last time?
SMART.
Close. That was 2 weeks ago. It does start with an S. Marvin gave you the answer in chat.
Hi.
Spot. All right. What does it mean? What does the S stand for? So smile. All right. So we got the S. There we go. Smile. What about the P? Yeah, you probably could say patience, but present yourself to the client. So first one, smile, present yourself to the client. What's the O? We're going to pause right here and we're going to replay the entire video from last Friday.
Don't do it, sir. Oh, it's not
Offer to help
O's.
client.
Offer assistance. Offer to help. There we go. So offer assistance. T.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank the client. Smile. Present yourself. Offer to help. And thank the customer. So thinking about everything that you've learned over the past few weeks and how much you're going to be learning in the next few weeks ahead of you, how much do you think the clients who are coming to you know about the types of technology you'll be helping them with?
Probably like a surface level of it
Okay.
at most.
Okay. So like a surface level. Most people, myself included, when I was first getting involved, because I had so much going on, I took a very utilitarian view as to, addressing technology. I needed it for certain things. I needed it to work. And when it broke, that was when I explored what methods it would need to fix it. So I didn't go much beyond that due to lack of time and stuff like that. But some customers may not even have that. They may not even be able to know enough just to be able to explore and look for possible solutions. So there is a good chance that they will not know much. Now, are you going to come across the clients that have a lot of knowledge in IT? Yeah, you may come across clients that have a significant knowledge in IT. Those of you in here who may step into different fields, you will have a lot of knowledge of IT. So if you have to address your IT team, like we have here at Generation, we teach IT, and then we still have to deal with an IT department. So that understanding, though, is there when they are dealing with us. They understand that we actually have a pretty good knowledge of IT itself. So there is that. There may be cases where you are IT for computer programmers, cloud developers, things like that. You may be assisting them with issues they're having with access, programs, getting things set up. So there could be a very wide variety of clientele you're dealing with, from people who know how to turn it on and click on the program that they need to use, all the way up to programming websites, and having a pretty deep knowledge of IT. You're going to have to adjust how you handle these clients based upon the knowledge that they have. And so you're going to have to be listening for verbal cues. Are they using terms that would be, more in the realm of IT? If they're talking about the DHCP servers, or talking about the DNS, or saying my FTP is not functioning properly, or are they just saying, like, I can't get the file off my computer at my house? We need to be listening to the types of language they're using and adjust our terminology to match that. All right. What are some reasons you think somebody coming in with IT issues might be thoroughly upset out of the gate? Go ahead, Janina.
They were doing something important and maybe the screen went blank and they can't find their information.
Okay. TK saying lost files. Yes, Alan.
Could prevent them from doing their job.
Okay. Like it. Chris?
I was just gonna say it's keeping them from getting work done.
Yeah. Maybe they have important deadlines coming up they gotta meet. Maybe they have an unforgiving boss who doesn't care what the problems are. They just want those deadlines met. I mean, how many people here have had a boss like that? Doesn't matter what obstacles you come across, the job still needs to get done on time, every time. Yes, Mark.
It could be a recurring problem, something they've thought that they fixed, but it just keeps happening.
Good point. Could be a recurring issue, something that keeps coming up. I like that. Jimmy.
Sometimes, like, maybe they're in a stressful situation, that like in a hospital or something, where like something very serious is getting affected, like even beyond just that deadline at work, like health, something health related.
Okay. In a hospital situation, it could be people's lives are on the line.
Yeah.
You know, if something isn't functioning properly, that could hurt people. And so there might be very, very little area for forgiveness on this. I like it. All right. Now, when you're on the job, you'll be assisting many different types of clients. In this session, we're going to discuss the best ways to communicate with those clients so that they are able to understand the information you are telling them. Remember, we want to speak to the client. If they have a high level of knowledge, we want to speak to them on that level. If they have a low level of knowledge, we still need to be able to convey the information so that we can resolve their issue, but not make them feel as if they are ignorant or dumb or something like that. We want to be sure that we're able to convey that language just in a way that helps them out, but does not sound like we are talking down to them. And if we're talking with people with higher levels of IT knowledge, we don't want to be talking at a base level when, you know, they know something more is going on. So as we learn to communicate with our clients, we will also discuss how to assist a client who is upset. And we want to ensure that every client has the best possible experience so that they will want to come back to us. Just a quick little statistic. If somebody has a bad experience as a customer, how many people do you think they tell?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Everyone. Well, the average is about 10 people. So if somebody has a bad experience, they're going to tell 10 people about that experience. If somebody has a good experience, how many people you can think they're going to tell?
One or two.
One or two if you're lucky, because that good experience is expected. We want that good customer service when we walk in the door. That's expected. If we have a bad experience, that is in our minds outside the norm. So we want to be sure people know about it so they don't come in and, you know, follow in our footsteps and trust in this company that gave them such a bad experience. So giving somebody a really good experience, maybe they tell one or two people. And usually that comes from being directly prompted, like, hey, do you know a good IT company that I can call to get this helped, you know, this problem with my computer fixed? So it usually comes from a direct prompting, not them going out and shouting on the hilltops, you know, like generation is awesome. You know, it's just not going to happen. It's more of a, you know, somebody's going to ask them, hey, I'm looking at doing this, you know, what would you recommend? So, and then, you know, bad experience, you know, somebody's just saying, well, how are you doing today? Well, I had this horrible experience today, and I'd like to kind of just share it with you in case you were wondering. You need to stay away from these people. So that's usually how it kind of works out. So we need to take care when we're dealing with our clients because we don't want them walking away fuming because they're going to spread the bad word pretty quickly. So yes, customer service is always an uphill battle. All right. Now, we just talked about this, so we'll go ahead and move through this one real quick because we talked about spot. So here we go, spot. Now, always remember you'll be communicating with clients in person, in writing, and or over the phone, maybe all three, depending on what scenario you get into. If you're working IT for a hospital, likely it's going to be all three. If you're working in a remote scenario where you're working from your house, likely it's just going to be, you know, phone or video chat and email in that case. And you want to be able to communicate effectively throughout. We don't want to be overly verbose, but we don't want to feel like we're brushing them off either. So now, after you've performed spot and you have successfully greeted the client, it will be time to start discussing what are the client's needs and how we are able to address them. So we want to talk about the 3 separate skills of strong client communication, which is active listening, asking probing questions, and explain concepts using client-friendly languages. Remember, we were talking about the DNS server, and I brought up the cell phone saying, hey, we kind of have a DNS server in our, in our possession where we have the phone numbers in our phone, and then we put the names of the contacts in there, and then we just say, call Mark or call Marvin, or something like that. And then the phone knows the phone number at that point, and it sends out the phone number. So in essence, it is doing the translation for us. That is typical to how a DNS server works. So understanding how to make those connections when you're talking with clients is very, very helpful, especially when dealing with people who do not have a high level of IT knowledge. So next, we're going to, first we're going to start talking about the idea of active listening. And we're going to do a fun activity. So take out that first piece of paper we were talking about, and I'm going to give you a set of directions. Your goal for this exercise is to follow the directions I'm giving you without asking any questions. And obviously you can't look at your neighbor's paper because, we're all not working in the same room together. So that one's not a big issue. So no questions. Just follow the directions specifically as I give them to you. Are we ready? Give me a thumbs up across the board in the reactions. Let me know everybody sees what we're doing. Ready to go. Nice. All right. So we got our piece of paper out, or we're going to use Microsoft Paint, however you want to do it. All right. Now, so step 1, on that piece of paper, draw a circle. Go ahead and pause the recording here. Here. So in your mind, when we talk about active listening, what does that mean to you? What does that term mean to you?
Being
Go ahead, Mark.
engaging while listening.
You're engaging and acknowledging. Okay, Romario, thank you. Yes, Mark?
I was going to say what Mario said, but add a little bit to that. You're trying to draw information out from the customer, and you're listening to what they're saying, and you may repeat a little bit of what they're saying to you so that they understand that you're hearing what they're saying.
Okay, like a check for understanding. Just verify. So I'm hearing you correctly. This is what you're saying, and you change the wording a little bit to see if you're getting the idea across. So I like it. Jimmy, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so everything, I agree with what they said. And I think for me, it's also trying to create like a map in my head of what, 1 second. I have like a map in my head of what they're seeing so we can establish common ground to work from.
Okay. So Jimmy's taking it to the next level, building mind maps with the customer. Like it. So active listening. Well, I'm sure they have a good definition of it as we move forward. Now, as we go through these, give me a green yes or a red no if this falls into what you believe active listening is. Start easy. Pay attention. All right. Like it. Go ahead and wipe them out real quick. We'll move on to the next one. Taking notes. Is that a sign of active listening? We got a standout here. TK, why do you say no?
I feel like if you're taking notes, you're not actively listening. Because when I try to take notes in class, I miss what you're saying.
Okay. Well, and the customer may feel that you're engrossed in something else rather than listening to them. So you may lead with, do you mind if I take notes while you're talking? So that they know that what you're documenting is what they're talking about. So I like that observation, TK. Do you have a question, Mark, or do you want to add to that?
No, just TK hit it right on the head. I said the same thing. They may not think that you're paying attention to them.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, that's
I get the green because in the same breath, if the issue is kind of, long-winded, I would need to I want to be able to create that quick little point where I know I need to come back to get to a question. So I get why people will think, actively listening could require some quick jottings of what to come back to, depending on the customer. I get it, but in order to truly active listen, you need to kind of really lock into what's being said. Yeah. So my heart goes out both ways.
See, I'm in the same boat as TK. Like when I was actually in college, because of learning disabilities, I mean, if I was taking notes, I was not hearing what the professor was saying. So actually, I got accommodations to where they would actually hire somebody in my class to take notes, and I would get copies of their notes. So I could focus 100% on what the teacher was saying, and then not have to worry about stopping and taking notes. So that was actually a big one for me. So I can fully empathize with what TK is saying. Yes, Chris, did you want to add to that too?
Yeah. So I said yes in this situation, but I think it's sort of situational. So like, say a customer is describing an issue that they're having with you or with their computer, and they're describing what's wrong, and you're jotting down little notes about it just so you can remember when you go back and try to fix it, what exactly they were saying and what the issues were they were having.
Okay. Makes sense. Yes, Jimmy.
I think in situations that require follow-up, sorry, my dog's going crazy. Sorry.
No worries.
He has some input on what you're talking about, but same thing with what Chris is saying, and I will let you get back in there too, Jimmy. It's that could be a reason, like you said, it's situational. But if I'm a customer and I'm finished telling you what I'm saying, and then you make me repeat it all over again, yeah, I'll be kind of upset.
Yeah, so I think it's good to take cues, not like full on taking notes, like if you would in a classroom, but just active cues that would trigger you later on to remember the beginning of the situation.
But still make them feel like you're actively listening, like, give them a little, like, even you can, you're like, yeah, okay, right, yes, for sure.
But also giving them that heads up, like, hey, do you mind if I take notes? That's a really good one for interviews. If you're sitting down in an interview with somebody, like, open up and say, like, do you mind if I take notes while we're talking? Just so that they know you're not just kind of like doodling off into space, sitting there drawing little stick figures and stuff and having fun while they're talking to you, but you're actually, following along with what they are, and you want to remember it. So you're documenting it for later. So there is that aspect of it as well. Now, next. Interrupt the client to ask relevant questions.
Oh no.
So no. All right, Mark. You have a dissenting view on this one?
Yeah, I said yes because they may be telling you something that you may need a little bit more clarification on. say that they're telling you something is happening with the OS when they boot up the system,
Okay.
and then they go to something else. They may offhandedly mention that, yeah, this little message comes up, I can't see it, but this is what else is what's going on. But that's something that you might want to get them to elaborate on and see if that information might be useful to you.
Okay.
And then allow them to go on with their story.
All right. Somebody want to counter that? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Personally, I think I would let them finish and just kind of try to get a full picture of what their issue is before I take my questioning in a certain direction. So I wouldn't interrupt them, but
Okay.
I see what Mark is saying though.
So it's one of those things, like not everything is so cut and dry. Yes, Rienzi.
I'd like to think that I would let them finish, but I'm an interrupter, so I might just do that because it's a bad habit. So, but
We know, Riz, and we know that you interrupt. We know. I was just playing. But then, Kelly, what's considered interrupting? Like, if
That's
I
true.
catch
At what
you
point do you consider that?
Yeah, if I catch you at a break or pause, you got to breathe, you got to swallow. I might can jump in there and be like, yeah, so and that's interrupting, but it's levels to it. So this is a very nuanced subject. We're just giving you the big pictures, and Kelly's trying to give you, there's pros and cons to in and outs of this, and everybody's different. Personalities change. So you may have a person where you already know you can't interrupt this person. You better not. Like, they just give you that energy. And then you have some people that's maybe wanting to have that back and forth. I need to know that you're engaged, and oh, you caught that? Yeah. So that happened then. Oh, that's unfortunate. Can you tell me? Look, like they give you time, they give you little times to interrupt or to have that conversation. So you gotta fill out your client or your customer.
Agreed. What about reading between the lines? Kind of evenly split on this one. All right, who wants to speak for the yeses?
You're not wrong, it's your opinion.
Exactly. Go ahead, Alan.
When I think of reading in between the lines, I think that you kind of have to not necessarily assume, because that's like a wrong word, but like kind of paraphrase what they're trying to say, or trying to go into a deeper understanding of what they mean, and especially with a whole bunch of technical words that they're not going to use. You have to kind of go the extra mile to dig a little deeper to what's that big blue cord in the back of a computer? And you're like, oh, that's a RJ45, or you know what I'm saying, or something. You kind of have to bridge that gap by reading in between the lines.
Gotcha. Yes, Rienzi.
I would say reading between the lines, for me, I think it's a little more about reading nonverbal cues than to make too many assumptions, because sometimes we assume wrong, and it's better to, instead of just going on an assumption, just read nonverbals, but at the same time, try not to assume too much, and instead of just going with what you think it is, ask a little more questions, some more questions.
So some more probing questions to try to get closer to an answer. Okay, I like it. Now, next, to make assumptions in order to be efficient. Pretty solid across the board on this one. Humberto, you want to explain why?
You're
because if you make assumptions, you are jumping to the solution without allowing the customer to, or without making questions to make sure that that is the issue.
Okay. Like it. Gotta be careful making assumptions. Yes, Luis.
You don't want to shotgun troubleshoot because one small detail might hurt you, and it can literally wipe off the data that the customer is trying to get back. And then who's going to be responsible is going to be you, because you just made a lot of assumptions and you just went ahead and didn't ask questions, and that's what happens.
True. Also, chasing assumptions might send us down a bunch of rabbit holes where, we're trying to fix things that aren't actually issues, and we could waste a lot of our time and the customer's time. So taking a few extra minutes just to question and make sure we're on the right path can save you a lot of time on the back end. All right. I love this one. Finish the client's sentences. Looks like we have a dissenting view. Hi, Jean. Would you like to speak on why you think yes on that one?
Sometimes maybe clients, they are not tech savvy and they may be stuck how to explain to you. Clients. And in the role of technician, you like, if he's stuck, you can carry on his maybe sentences, explain more. Maybe sometimes he cannot explain the problem with which one he came, and you can guess and tell to him is it this one or problem and that's why it's my opinion.
So what you're saying is like if they come to a point where they're at a loss for words, like they can't think of a way to express it, they can't put their finger on exactly what the problem is, maybe offering up a couple, oh, was it this happening or this, trying to give them a little bit of direction, something along those lines. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mark, so you got your hand up.
I was going to say the same thing. It'd be the situation where you're not interrupting them to finish the sentence, but just like as John said, if you're having trouble with maybe the terminology, you may be able to help them out with the word that they may be looking for. But on a day-to-day basis, if you're just talking to them and they're just talking and know what they're going to say, you don't just go and say it.
So
I finish Kelly's sentences all the time. We actually have this thing where we I throw out something and he knows that I'm going to say the other part of it. So it's kind of cool.
Well, you guys know each other, but a customer might get annoyed by that.
That's so true.
This is true.
Well, yeah.
So it is a situation where we keep saying, not everything is cut and dry. There is a lot of so-called gray area in there where, a lot of these things would be situational, so you have to be pretty good at reading the situation to see whether or not something is appropriate. So now, next, assess the client's level of experience with technology. Seem kind of divided on this. All right, let's get a dissenting view. Oh, a lot of people are changing their views.
Can you repeat the statement?
Sure. Assesses the client's level of experience with technology. Like as they're talking, you're assessing how well they understand technology. All right, let's get a yes. Tajma, can you, are you able to speak or do you need to type it up in chat?
I can hear you, but you going in and out. What was the question?
Assessing the client's level of experience with technology. Is that something that is part of active listening or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Why? Do you want why or no?
Sure, go ahead. You just had no up, so I was curious.
No, I thought it was finishing their sentences. That's the last thing I heard.
Okay,
That's what
sorry.
I know.
So yeah, go ahead and give us your why.
I just think you should access like not basically judge their knowledge, but like you kind of know where they're coming from if I have someone that doesn't know the difference between the Ethernet cord or the cable coaxial, then I can know like maybe if it was the setup with the Wi-Fi or like their knowledge is based on like maybe where I need to start. Like it'll give me a fresh start to like maybe it's a user error. Even most of the time it is a user error. So like assessing their knowledge can help you know like where to start with the problem. If they told you they already turned the computer on and off, they at least know like you know how to reboot.
Okay. And so, but you wouldn't ask them what their level was. You would try to assess it through your conversation with them, correct?
Yeah, figure it out on your own by asking questions.
Okay. Because a lot of people are going to be reluctant to tell you like, I don't know anything about computers, you know, because they don't want to feel like, you know, like they should know more or something along those lines. So they would be reluctant to tell you that, like, you know about computers? Yeah, I know about computers.
Yeah, you can get it both ways. You can tell somebody that think they know, but they don't. And then you
Yeah.
can have somebody that don't know and don't give it to you because they want to see how you actually proceed because
They want to test your skill level.
Yeah, there you go. You have those type of customers and clients as well.
That will happen. So I like it. All right, next, do we need to try to assess the client's emotional state? But I'm not going to lie, I am terrible about this.
That took me back to the situation with my old supervisor, and he was like, "Hey, man," that whole conversation that we talked about last week, where you can tell that that customer started to play some emotional rationalities onto the situation as opposed to just walking through the issue. So you got to, like Kelly said, he's not aware of it, but we I think we know when somebody's upset. They tend to want you to know that, but it's the ones that are more reserved and don't show it that can put you, you know, in a. It makes you got to stay on point.
Yeah, they'll throw you for a loop.
Yeah.
All right. Listen for unspoken requests. They're saying, you know, I think my computer might be a virus, but in the back of your mind, you know, they're saying, please perform the King method.
Man, clean. Effective.
Got to be careful. Got to be careful with this one, to listen for unspoken requests. You know, you do need to, if you think you might be experiencing this, you may want to ask some more open-ended questions to kind of walk down that path. Lastly, should we paraphrase what the client has said? All right. Excellent. Yes. Because you changing it up, summarizing it, and giving it back to them lets them know, one, you understood them, and two, lets you know that you heard it correctly. So it's a check for you and a check for the customer. Lets them know you're listening, and also lets you know that you've gotten the information that you need and you were effectively hearing what they were saying. So that is the big one. All right. I think we already went over this, but explain paraphrase real quick. What does that mean to you? Go ahead, Luis.
To put it in your own words and summarize it.
Very succinct. Kind of shorten it because I had a when I was in logistics, I had a vendor that we used to deal with, driver company, and whenever a problem occurred, I kid you not, the dispatcher, who's also part owner of the company, would start out from when the driver woke up that morning and give me a full breakdown on their day that led up to that point when things went wrong. So I knew when they called and there was an issue, it was going to be a 10-minute conversation. And then I would have to summarize at the end, basically, so your driver failed to do this. Well, yes, but, you know, if you go back early, you know, like, so they would try to continue to explain things to me, but you need to be able to summarize it very succinctly, get rid of all erroneous information, and then just make it as pointed as possible. All right. So we're going to practice active listening now because we've kind of gone through a lot of the pieces of it. So we're going to redo that same exercise. So flip the paper over or take out a new piece of paper or wipe it out on your Windows Paint, however you so choose. And we will go through this exercise one more time, except this time,
Better picture with more information.
Yes, Janina.
I feel like the first one was off of just thinking for myself versus the second one actually knowing how to or where to put the information.
Okay. I like it. Most of them turn out like this. There we go. If yours looks different than this, what could have been done differently to help accomplish this particular look?
The picture.
That's true. Having a solid visual of where you're going. So you have the where you're going and then the steps along the way.
Asking
Okay.
more
Getting all the
precise.
information. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Asking more precise questions.
More precise questions. All right. Yes, Janina.
I would say getting all the information beforehand.
Okay. All right. It's a simple little exercise, but it does pretty effectively explain the difference between active and passive listening. All right, very well. Probing questions. Now, when we were talking about it, we noted that, you know, for the most part, we do not make assumptions. And for the most part, we do not complete our client sentences unless you come across a situation where they're just stuck on a word and you just can't seem to get it out. And maybe they're kind of just begging for you to kind of step in and just, give them maybe one or two buzzwords and see if that helps get the message across. All right. Getting a little tired here. See if we can pull somebody to help us out. Luis, can you read the first point for us, sir? What a probing question is?
A probing question is a question that relates to what the client is saying, but that tries to get additional information. It is asking for more specific details to get a better and fuller picture of the issue.
Thank you very much. Trying to develop even more understanding as to the situation that's going on. Let's see, Fidel, can you read the second point out for us, please?
So the second one,
yes,
asking good questions is a key to communicating in a client-friendly manner. By asking the right questions, you can improve communication by getting better information and building stronger relationships.
Very good. TJ, can you read the last one for us?
It is important to ask good questions because the quality of the questions will directly impact the quality of the answers.
Okay. Very good. All right. Now, imagine you're standing on the street outside your house. A woman comes up to you and says, "Help, I can't find my hotel." You can see that she's holding a tote bag with the name of a hotel on it. You could assume that she is staying in that hotel and give directions, but you know that good active listening means you don't make assumptions. What types of questions would you ask to make sure the woman you can best help her out in the situation?
Which hotel?
Which hotel? Okay. So if you live in Atlanta, she just says Holiday Inn.
Which one?
Which one?
Okay.
Where is it? Does she know the street or the town?
There you go. Does she have an address?
Does she know like where it's by? Like, could it be like by the stadium or in relative location to something else?
Were there any landmarks near the hotel that you know?
How she got to where she was at that moment?
There you go.
Who left you?
This is where my Uber dropped me. Although they forgot to give me my luggage.
That's
In
easy.
fact,
You can ask.
I'm not even sure if they were an Uber driver.
If they took an Uber, you can track it right back.
That is true.
Has she been there before?
There you go. Has she been there before? No, I'm new to the city. I've always wanted to come see the Atlanta Underground.
Is she alone?
Is she alone? Oh, there you go. Have you gotten separated from your group? Okay. All probing questions to try to be able to give better information to the customer. We'll be breaking here in a little bit. Tajma.
Is this are you coming to a conference? You can identify if there's a host hotel or something like that. Certain ways you can get to the information. You just got to figure out how to present the question to get you the more information you need.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So when you're talking to a client, and you're trying to get as much information as possible to help the person with the problem, there will be even more questions you will need to ask. Imagine that a client comes up to you and says the computer will not turn on. Even without considering the specific problems might be, what type of questions might you want to ask?
Is the power on, connected?
Is the what?
Is the power connected to the outlet? Is the power supply working? Like,
Is the screen on?
Is the monitor on?
When did this problem start?
There, that's a good one. When did this problem start?
Have you checked your voltage?
Voltage?
Yeah, if like.
What is it? What do you mean? It's plugged into the wall. Shouldn't that have been checked by an electrician before I got here?
I don't know, but like what I'm saying is it's like make sure it's not set to 220 volts, you know, because that would mess up.
If they know about computers though, because if they don't know about computers, they wouldn't know that.
There we go. There we go. Making assumptions as to my technical understanding of what's going on with the computer.
So Luis, with what you're saying, you should have, you gotta understand your tech level. Once you get that through conversation, you can bring out that. But another way you can say, hey, turn it around and I want you to see where is it switched to. Like you have to give them that in order to get it back. And then through conversation, like, oh, I am from London, but I've already switched it to 110. Like that's when you know the conversation will build that relationship. So can't jump out the gate with it.
So real quick, real life scenario. Customer calls in, computer won't start. Tech is doing everything they can, it's plugged in. When did this last occur? Well, it was able to turn on just, about an hour ago, and now it won't turn on at all. Yes, it's plugged in. No, it's not even trying to boot up. I'm not getting any lights or anything like that. No, the monitor's not on. None of that fun stuff. And then the IT tech goes, okay, well, can you possibly see if it's plugged in the back of the computer and if the power switch behind the computer is on? And the customer responds with, hold on, let me get a flashlight. Turns out the power was out for the whole house, essentially. But they were trying to troubleshoot something without asking some kind of open-ended probing questions. Is this the only thing this is happening to? Things that would have saved a whole lot of time, like maybe check when the power comes on, see if your computer turns on at that point. So that was a real life IT call. All right. See, first one. Kaylin, can you read out the first one for us, please? Oh, your mic's not working, is it? Mark, can you read for us, please? First point.
You always want to ask as many specific questions as possible. Taking the time to actively listen and ask questions will ultimately save time and money.
There you go. A little bit of extra time up front can save you a lot of time on the back end. Second point. Romario, can you read for us, please?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Can you read the second point for us, please?
Yes, your probing questions should be open-ended questions. You already learned about open-ended questions when we discussed troubleshooting. Open-ended questions will require your client to think, reflect, and provide you more information. Examples are what happened after you rebooted, or what did you try to do when installing the update?
There you go. Start out very broad and then slowly narrow your questions further and further as you go. All right. Now, there are several categories you can deal with regards to probing questions. You want to try to stick with the, the what, when, where, why, how questions, what went wrong? What are the details about what is happening? When did this happen? How often? Has it happened before? Is there a pattern? Are you the only person experiencing this issue, or is it multiple people in the area happening the same thing? Why did this happen? When we get to the Philbin method for printer repair, there's going to be a very obvious reason why the printer did not work. Where, in what location did it happen? Did it happen at your office? Did it happen at the house? Is this something where you would be transmitting or transporting your computer from home to the office on a regular basis? Did something happen in transit? Was the computer dropped on the way to the office? Something along those lines that could have changed the situation. How did it happen? Were you getting out of the car and the strap broke on your laptop bag, and at that point the laptop bag just dropped and hit the concrete on the edge, and then when you got it up to the office, it wouldn't turn on anymore after that? These are just questions to consider. You may not ask all of these every time. They're just things that you would want to kind of have in your bank. All right. Now, what do you think client-friendly language means? So what does that mean to you? Client-friendly language.
Language they can understand.
That would be good. Yes, Jimmy.
I was going to say the same thing, and just outright being courteous.
Being courteous, okay. So what do we mean by language they can understand? I mean, we don't necessarily want to start spouting off in Latin.
Just talk it like very simple to them. Like, don't go advanced on them and be like, oh, like this is a PSU unit, whatever. Like, you don't talk like that. You got to talk it in a very simple manner.
Okay. You don't want to oversimplify because it can sound like you're talking down to them as well. So you got to be cautious with that. Yes, Alan.
I had a teacher once say, you want to explain things to someone who don't understand, like you're explaining baseball, because we all know how baseball works, but versus explaining like how a radio works, you want to like be very simple, like in the comparison, like you want to get to the point.
Use analogies.
Yeah.
Analogies that are pretty common for people to understand. That would be a good start. So, okay. Anything else we can think of? All right, imagine you're a medical doctor and you're doing some important and complex research on a rare disease. You have a colleague, a fellow surgeon, who wants to know about your research. You would explain your research to your colleague in a very technical language and with as many details as you possibly can. So if you're explaining to, a coworker about a technical issue that's going on, you're going to use as much technical or specific information as you possibly can to convey that information as quickly as possible. You're not going to explain to them what a DNS server is in the process. They probably already know what it is. So you're going to, in order to be more efficient, explain it to them using the technical terms associated with it. Now, if you are that same surgeon, imagine you have a 7-year-old patient who has this disease, and you're meeting with the patient and their parents, and you want to explain the research to see if they would be interested in joining your clinical trial. how would you need to explain this research to the patient and the parent in a different way than you would your colleague?
Non-technical language.
Using non-technical language. Okay. So put it in layman's terms. But you still need
Water
to
it down.
convey. Do what?
Dumb it down.
Dumb it
Water it
down a little
down.
bit. This is a very complicated one in the medical field because there is no true informed consent, because it would take years to explain to people the information and research behind a lot of this stuff. So you need to be able to explain it as best you can to get the information across that you need to get across that's important for them. What are the benefits and risks? And then try to allow them to make a decision from that point. All right. When you're talking to a colleague, you would use as many details as possible. We discussed this earlier. You would use terms and examples that they would, like a patient would understand. You would tell them the truth, but try to keep it as simple as possible while using analogies that would make it better for them to understand. Try to come up with analogies ahead of time about certain procedures, ones that you'll remember. It'll make it easier than trying to come up with it on the fly. Every now and again, I try to do that while I'm in class if I haven't thought of one ahead of time, and I'm about 50-50. Sometimes they land and they're pretty good. Other times I feel like I'm just wandering off into the weeds and getting way away from my point. So, try to come up with some of these analogies ahead of time. It actually helps, one, with your understanding of it, and two, being able to convey that to somebody who doesn't necessarily have the technical background you do. Now, if I'm speaking to a manager, what kind of language would I use? Like if I am in IT and I'm talking to my manager, what kind of language would I use?
Would go kind of
Use
like
technical.
full tech words on them, like so that you're compliant with the company's rule, not necessarily rules, but
okay,
like you know what you're talking about.
Anybody? That's pretty good, Alan. I like it. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, because I agree with Alan. You want to use those advanced technical words because it shows that you are prepared and that you know what you're talking about. And especially because the manager has a lot of experience. So you want to make sure that the manager knows that you have experience in the IT field, and you want to give them an impression. So that's very important.
Jimmy's making a solid point. Go ahead, Jimmy. I like where you're at, Luis. But Jimmy,
I think just like,
why would you say such a thing?
I think just like speaking to a client, you have to gauge where they are technically and background wise, because I've seen people come from other fields into like management in a different field, and they don't know much. So they lean on their employees a lot to get them caught up. So I think you got to kind of gauge where the culture is and what his experience is.
Well, what is it the manager's job to do? Overall, what does it managers do?
Manage and facilitate.
Facilitate, manage what?
Time and people.
Employees.
Resources. There we go. Managers are there to facilitate and distribute resources. So no, they may, Jimmy's right on point. They may not have that technological experience, but they may be really good at running teams. So the person who is, you're reporting to doesn't necessarily mean they have higher technical knowledge than you. If anybody ever spoke to somebody who manages labs, for like Johnson & Johnson and stuff like that, these aren't doctors and nurses that are managing the labs. They just know how to manage people. So you do need to pay attention to the technological skill of your manager. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to know more than you. They just need to know how to distribute resources so that they can be as efficient and effective as possible in completing whatever the company's mission is. All right. Let's see here. All right, we'll do this one real quick. Stop so I can share sound. This one's pretty quick. It's only about 3 minutes.
Now, funny thing, we had intended to do the same troubleshooting scenario as last time with just one stick of memory out. The problem is that some of our vendors, like Dell, only put one bloody stick of memory in the system, and that wouldn't be fair to them versus the ones that did install dual channel memory.
How well do we think Dell would do with tech support?
Good.
Yep. Getting some mixed opinion here. All right. So some say good, some say okay, some say bad. All right.
When you start the computer, do you at least see the Dell logo, ma'am?
I mean, she did just tell him that the screen doesn't go on, so how would she see a Dell logo?
I do see the Dell logo.
Oh,
No,
Sarah, that's the wrong Dell logo. Oh, okay, that's not, oh no.
Sorry, I thought you meant the Dell monitor on the PC. I actually don't see the Dell monitor or the Dell logo on the monitor.
I mean, look, it's his job to help people like that.
Yeah. Unplug the power cord from the back of the computer tower.
Okay, we're 6.5 minutes in.
We have an unplugged computer.
Please press and hold the power button on the tower for 1 minute of time without the power cable. I'll let you know when to release it.
She's still holding it.
Oh my God, she's been holding it for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Plugs it in.
How would you rank this tone of voice? Nobody thinks it's amazing. All right. Yeah, most people saying neutral.
So you can see on this Dell, it actually uses an LED indicator for the BIOS error code.
Will you please tap the caps lock again on the keyboard and see if the caps lock comes on and goes off?
But I mean, he just had her reset it to diagnostic mode. Why didn't he just have her look at the indicator light?
I don't know.
Give me the exact message what it shows.
Yeah.
So he's asking still on the monitors. 60 minutes in.
How are we still on the monitor?
I mean, at the behind the monitor, there'll be two different display ports, ma'am. One is display in.
My God.
I hope it is connected to the DP in.
We are still on the monitor.
And he's saying there's DisplayPort out.
Okay.
There's no
There's no
DisplayPort out.
DisplayPort out
What monitor
on any
has-
monitor
Yeah, which
that I'm
one has
aware of.
DisplayPort pass through? I can pretty much guarantee there is none.
Behind the tower, at the place where you have connected, please check if there's any other port, any other display port.
Which is not a terrible troubleshooting step.
Yes, but this computer only has one. I think this GPU only had one DisplayPort,
Yeah,
one HDMI,
you're
and
right.
a DVI.
No, there isn't.
Will you please connect it?
Look up the f***ing order.
I think he did, and he's still reading off the same
Well,
route.
he's still getting us to do things we don't have and asking what her name is.
Not to mention it's Dell, so he has a service tag that should be leading him to the exact model.
Usually in case if you put, if the monitor tower has a graphics card, then it will have a different output, ma'am.
This motherboard doesn't have onboard video ports.
Doesn't have any other display ports either.
There is one display port output.
It seems to be plugged into
Okay, so
that
we're
one.
19 minutes in, still working on the monitor.
Remember, the client is the lady working on the tower, not Linus. Just under half, saying all right. Some seeming upset.
Can I just say for a moment that it is filling me with rage to see this error code flashing on the front of the tower the entire time we're sitting here? It starts in the groin and it works its way up to vomit.
Keep your groin to yourself.
What is he even waiting for so long? Like, oh my God.
When I check my resources, I see there are a few more display ports at the back.
Oh, no.
So what's the number one thing this IT support is doing wrong? Why? So you didn't ask questions. You didn't ask some questions. You didn't ask appropriate questions.
That's what I meant, but I already put send, so.
Did not ask open-ended questions to isolate the problem. He's trying to jump to the result rather than listen to the customer. Nice. Not listening to the client. So overall, just not effective communication.
No.
So what was that?
He
sat there for a minute trying.
Yeah, not exactly listening. I would agree. All right. Moving on to upset clients. We talked about this one a little bit earlier, briefly. So 9 steps to taking care of an upset client would be: first, remain calm. We talked about this earlier. Next, understand that they're going to be in a difficult situation, so we do not want to take what they're saying personally. Then we want to be able to use our listening skills, active listening, show that you heard what the client has said, express sympathy for the situation they're in, because they're likely going to be very stressed out when you are interacting with them at that time. Apologize gracefully. You don't need to grovel about it, but like, man, I am really sorry you're experiencing that situation. Let's see what we can do to try to remedy that, or we will do our best to help you. Try to find a solution. Start the solution in motion and give them an idea as to what can be expected while working through the solution. And then communicate your appreciation that they chose you over everyone else out there to help support them in this issue. Questions so far? All right. So the first part of it, we know when you're upset, it's hard to solve any problems. When somebody's actually upset, you need to kind of, help fix the customer first, try to de-escalate that stress that they're feeling, get them down to where you can have effective communication with them. Remember, they're upset, they're stressed out. Try not to take what they're saying personally, especially if there's a situation where they might have dealt with somebody else on your team prior, and then it wasn't effectively taken care of, and then they get you on the phone. This is a new scenario. You know, I apologize. You know, don't throw your teammate under the bus, but don't, you know, get defensive either. You know, you want to tell them like, look, I apologize. You had a bad experience. Let's see what we can do to fix this issue. So, and kind of, you know, let them know like, hey, I'm here to try to help you as best as possible. And once you take it personally and your feelings are hurt, you're one, more likely to lash out. Two, you're less likely to be able to do your job and assist the client. So next, use your listening skills. Let the client share their concerns so that both of you can kind of understand what's going on. Also, this will help make sure that you understand the full problem and try not to utilize solutions that have already been tried. If they've dealt with the tech support team member before, or if they were with tier 1 or tier 2 and they're moving up to you, you don't necessarily want to go back through the entire process, try everything over again, because this can be extremely frustrating for the client. Show you've heard what they said. So you would restate their concern back to them, ask them if they understood, if you understood the problem correctly, and ask them questions about their concerns. 5, express sympathy. You don't want to blame anyone, but you can tell the client you're very sorry for the situation that they're in. Issues with technologies can be very stressful, and you can tell them that it must be frustrating dealing with it. Remember times when you've dealt with technology and it's been extremely frustrating for you. You know, understand that, you know, this could lead to a heightened emotional state. Apologize gracefully. You want to genuinely tell the client that you're sorry for their frustrations, and you're going to do everything you can to help them. And try to find a solution. Utilizing what the client has told you, try to troubleshoot and get this resolved as best as possible so that the client can leave satisfied. They can also leave satisfied if you don't get this situation solved, if you have good customer service skills and you did everything possible to try to resolve it. They will at least know that you did everything within your power to help them, going above and beyond. Yes, Humberto. Good. Great. All right. Next, start that solution in motion. Telling them exactly what you're going to do to a degree and making it happen, 2 different things. Tell that, you know, if there's a hardware issue and you need to order a new part, let them know like, look, we're going to be ordering a new part for your computer. It should arrive in X amount of days. At that point, we're going to, you know, open up your computer and install this new component, and hopefully that will resolve whatever issues you're experiencing. Set time to follow up. If you see any delays, like if you receive a notification from the shipper, there's been manufacturing delays. This is a big thing right now. So there's manufacturing delays, and it looks like it's going to be another week before that part comes in. Don't wait until the day they're expecting the part to be there to let them know. Let them know as soon as you know. So there's not that frustration. Say, hey, I just wanted to touch base back with you. I know I said I was going to reach back out to you on Thursday, but I just got notification from the manufacturer due to the manufacturing delays. This part is not available. You could offer up options like, hey, I have found this part with another manufacturer. If you would like us to try that, if it's a personal computer, if it's a company owned or enterprise computer, you may not have that option because they would have secure silos that they would deal with and may not want to deal with other vendors. So if that's an option or not, but you still need to keep them informed, you know, hey, manufacturing issues, it could be another week's delay, something along those lines, as soon as you find out. And then finally, communicate your appreciation to them at the end of that conversation. Thank them for their business or trusting in you to take care of that problem. make sure they are satisfied, make sure they have all of their questions answered, because even at the end, they may have other questions in mind that they need to convey to you. So make sure all of that is taken care of before you close out that ticket. Don't just, hang up on them as soon as their problem's taken care of and move on to your next call. So definitely convey your appreciation to them. All right. So call out here. We're going to go to the 9 steps. Pull out the sticks. All right, Renee, can you speak out or chat? What is the first step to assisting an upset client? Hmm? Marisha. What is the first step to assisting an upset client?
I'll go.
All right, go ahead, Janina.
Remain calm.
Remain calm. Very good. Chris, what's number 2?
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal. Like it. Brittany, what's number 3? All right, go ahead, Jimmy.
Use your listening skills.
Using listening skills. Berto, it's number 4. John, it's number 4.
Number 4, show that you heard what the client said.
Perfect. Thank you. Tajma, what's number 5? Alan, number 5.
Don't know. I didn't write it down.
You don't know, you didn't write it down. All right. Janina, on point. Express sympathy. Very good. Number 6, Janina.
Apologize gracefully.
There we go. 7, Jordan.
Isn't it maintaining your tone?
I like that example, but unfortunately, I don't think that one is the step. But I like that point. Mark.
Find a solution.
Find a solution. Very good. Rienzi. Number 8. We just found the solution. What do we want to do next?
I don't know, verify that it worked. Document.
We're getting into the troubleshooting. I like that. Okay.
I don't know.
So we found
Are
a
you going to
solution.
explain to them what you're doing or what you're about to do?
Well, that would be the, yeah. So you would start the solution in motion, start moving towards that solution. What's the last thing we're going to do?
Thank you.
thank the client, communicate gratitude that they brought that problem to you to solve. Very good. Yeah, we got a couple scenarios here, but for time's sake, we are going to bypass those for right now. Are there any questions with regards to assisting clients as opposed to addressing a client? All right.
Can you say the question again?
Are there any questions with regards to assisting a client versus addressing a client? All right, well, with that, we should be able to just demonstrate active listening by nodding, making eye contact, paraphrasing what the client has said, and should be able to now ask open-ended probing questions to gather additional information, explain complex concepts in clear, concise, client-friendly language, and list and demonstrate the 9 steps involved in assisting an upset client.